Raymond, you know what this game is missing?
What's that?
It's missing Tom Brady. What I wanted more than anything else was to have Jimmy G lead our 49ers into New England to defeat Tom Brady and his Patriots. That was my dream matchup. I was hoping maybe we'd get it in the Super Bowl. That didn't happen. I was hoping we'd get it this season. No, Tom Brady snuck out. And in fact, he joined the Bucs, a team we played last year. He knew we played him last year. That little sneaky little rat, got past us, joined a team that we played the year before and left the team we were about to play. And that's the only thing this game is missing. I really wanted to beat Tom Brady's Patriots. But I guess...
I mean...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But I guess we're getting Cam.
It has been Cam. It's still Cam, I guess.
This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymonds Solis I, baby.
Boom! Raymond, it is here. Preview Thursday. We are looking at the Patriots and 49ers, Week 7. The question is, can the Niners keep up what we saw last week? The most brilliantly played game of the year. The most excellently executed game. Kyle Shanahan put together a game that reminded me of our entire season last year. And now the question is, can we continue this? Despite our injuries, can we build on the momentum from last week and really start to get on a roll? This is game 2 of the Gauntlet II. Right now, the current score is 1-0 in the Gauntlet. So Patriots are up next, and this is a team, as we were saying in the cold intro for the audio podcast, this is a team that is in a bit of a reboot. You know, they've rebooted now that Tom Brady is gone. They have one Cam Newton who looked really solid in the beginning, but obviously, after coming back from that COVID, did not quite look like himself last week. I know that the Patriots are definitely going to be coming into Gillette Stadium wanting to punch us in the mouth, and we're going to go in there wanting to punch them in the mouth. Obviously, the biggest story of here, though, is not Cam Newton. The biggest story here is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was traded to us 4 years ago, middle of October. I remember literally sitting in San Francisco with Louis B. We were going on the San Francisco boat party, and it was the day before the boat, and we saw our phones. They went off at the same time. Jimmy G had been traded to San Francisco. It was so crazy. I was so excited, and I was wondering if this guy played. I was just hoping at the time that he was as good as advertised. I was hoping that the guy that we got for a second-round draft pick, which is insane, that I was hoping the guy that we got was the real deal. And in my opinion, he has been the real deal. I think the only thing that's really set him back is injuries and an ability to stay consistently on the field. But hopefully we're past that this season. Hopefully we get another full season of Jimmy G. But obviously he is now going back to the Patriots, going back to the home that kind of developed him first. And I'm really excited for this game. So, Raymond, let's get into this, brother. Let's start talking about what we're looking at. Let's start looking at these numbers here. Week 7, this game is going to be at 1:25, Sunday, October 25th, 2020. San Francisco 49ers at New England Patriots. We are 2-3 on the road. At home, and 2-0 away, undefeated on the road. New England Patriots are 2-3 away, 2-1 at home. So this game is going to be on CBS, which always sucks because I don't have CBS. And the spread right now, Vegas has New England at 2.5-point favorites, a very slim margin. They expect this game to be pretty tight with the total over under set at 45. All right, so let's look at some stats. This season, San Francisco is averaging 24.7 points per game this season. That's 20th in the NFL. San Francisco is surrendering 21.7 points per game. So that's a very tight margin there. That is 10th in the NFL. New England is averaging 21.8 points per game this season, 25th in the NFL. And they are surrendering 22 points per game this season, 11 in the NFL. So not that great. The offense has not really been firing off too much for England and New England, and they're making about what we're averaging. So I'm kind of actually, even when I see those numbers, I'm like, I'm not entirely sure why Vegas puts us as the underdogs, but obviously a lot more goes into how they build those algorithms than just simply, what we're surrendering, what we're giving up there. That's like our basic breakdown, Raymond. But of course, as with every season, this next segment is the most important one and has been the most important one for us, and that is, of course, your injury report. Give us the injury report going into Week 7.
Well, so far it looks like things aren't looking good for Quan Alexander or Dante Johnson. Well, I don't care about Dante Johnson, but Quan Alexander did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, so even if he's limited on Friday, I really don't expect him to play. This is just another player. It's very frustrating from my perspective just because Quan Alexander has all the talent in the world, but he was coming off of a significant injury when John Lynch took a chance on him. And even though he played very well in the games that he's played in, he's been very inconsistent in terms of maintaining that health and staying on the field. And his injuries throughout these past 2 seasons aren't even related to the one that he was coming off of when he was with Tampa Bay. And he was a Pro Bowler in Tampa Bay, but one lone season. So just another one of those players that for some reason John Lynch takes a chance on, hopes that they can kind of overcome their injuries and tap into their potential and be the player that we hope them to be, but that just has not been the case with Quan Alexander. So very frustrating for Niner fans and for the defense as well. The same can be said for Dee Ford, another player that we took a big chance on. He was coming off of a Pro Bowl season, and he has yet to play a full season with us, and he's going to miss a significant amount of time this year, just like he did last year. So back-to-back seasons with Dee Ford just not being able to stay on the field.
He's
very
out,
frustrating.
Raymond. He's out till Week 11.
Yes.
And Richard Sherman.
Same
both
with Richard
out
Sherman.
Till week.
Yes.
Like they're going to miss the entire gauntlet. Those two guys, you can count them out. They're out.
Yes. So again, frustrating. So Dante Johnson, a bulky pick that I was never too fond of. I liked his measurements coming out of college, but he just never really. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. He was a full participant today. Don't really care what he amounts to tomorrow. But, I guess just nice to have another body in there, I guess. Raheem Mostert, we know he's not going to play for the next couple of weeks. He'll be on at least a minimum of 3 games on the short IR list. Jaquiski Tartt didn't practice yesterday or today. So the likelihood of him playing on Sunday is very, very slim. I doubt he will play. Trent Williams was in limited practice. He'll probably go this Sunday, so that's good. We'll need him because we know that Ben Garland was injured in the victory over the LA Rams, so we just lost our center, who was actually the backup to our starting center. So now we're on our 3rd string center, and I'll get more into that in players to watch. Jeff Wilson Jr., the last person on this week's injury report. So thankfully it's a short list, but there's still a significant names on that list regardless. He was a limited participant today in practice. On the New England side, you have one of their offensive linemen dealing with an ankle, Jermaine Elumanur. It almost sounds like manure. It's Munor. He did not practice on Wednesday. There's not sure he will play. James White, not injury related, but didn't practice 2 days in a row. So that's not good in terms of just trying to get into rhythm and getting your reps ready. He will most likely play on Sunday. Adam Butler, defensive lineman, been dealing with a shoulder injury. He was limited in practice the last 2 days. Kyle Duggar, defensive back, ankle, limited in practice the last 2 games. Julian Edelman has not been quite himself. Majority of this season has been dealing with a knee injury. He was limited in practice this day, but he will most likely go on Sunday. I expect all the last aforementioned players to play this coming Sunday, albeit Julian Edelman will not be at his full strength. Shaq Mason, offensive lineman, has that calf issue. He was a limited participant today. He will most likely go. And then Derek Rivers, defensive end, has the back issue. He was a limited participant today, and he will most likely go on Sunday. So, I mean, we definitely have more marquee names in terms of players missing, although New England had a bunch of players opt out from COVID before the season even started. And we know that they also have a couple of the losses. 2 out of their 3 losses can be attributed. I mean, we can arguably, someone could make the case and say that these were COVID losses. You know, we know one of those, Cam couldn't play because he had COVID or was exposed to COVID and had to be quarantined. And then we know that Patriots didn't get a full week of practice because of COVID, and then had to come in and play a game anyways, despite not having the reps necessary for practice leading up to a game. So that left them cold and, you know, coming in soft for that game, and they ended up losing last week. So they're going to be looking to definitely kind of regain some momentum and get back into the win column. One win puts them back at 500, so that's really where they're at today. But, I mean, overall, you know, some frustrating. It's still every week it seems like it's going to be very frustrating for a Niners fan here, because this is going to be a, you know, to me it's like 50-50 chance they win each of these games going forward. And without star players, especially someone as dynamic as Raheem Mostert, I mean, that really does limit the running game. Not to take away anything from Jerick McKinnon, who's looked great all season, but he does not have the explosiveness or the lane reading that Raheem Mostert has.
Or the yak ability.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's good. He's, again, like I've said, he's the best receiving running back on this team. But at the same time, even though he has good vision out of the hole and into open space, just not the same caliber of Raheem Mostert, which is why he's the number one. So unfortunate. But, I mean, overall, both these teams I feel like are coming in with, you know, a bit of a limp, if you want to put it that way. So we'll just have to see how it translates on the field.
Yeah, I would say that we're coming in with a bit of a physical limp, but from a psychological standpoint, a pretty big high after a huge win. You know, and I still expect the 49ers to put this game together. And I believe we're going to win, which we'll talk about obviously towards the end. But let's go into your matchups, Raymond. What do you see? Where do you see this game being won?
Well, I mean, matchups is always going to be an interesting thing, right? So, you mean, you have Coach Belichick versus Shanahan, the best play caller in the game versus one of the most successful coaches of all time. In terms of Super Bowl wins, he's the greatest of all time. In terms of wins, I think that's still in Don Shula's corner. But in terms of play calling, scheming, gosh, these guys are pretty neck and neck, I would say. I'd give a slight edge to Belichick just from experience and having all of that winning experience. I give a slight edge to him there. Got to give it to him. Even though I don't care for the team, I still got to give respect where respect's due. Quarterback, I think the edge obviously goes to Jimmy. If there's one thing that if we were talking about just pure mobility and size and strength, then sure, I would give the edge to Cam Newton. But Cam Newton is a shell of himself. I mean, I was being a little cheeky at the beginning of the cast when I said it was a has-been Cam Newton, but let's face it, he hasn't looked like 2015 since 2015. And that was 5 years ago. And Cam Newton has been battling injuries ever since then. He's always had an issue with completion percentage and accuracy. I expect that to be the case coming into this game because it's just who Cam is. Unfortunately, he's a better mobile quarterback than he is an accurate quarterback. And that's just the name of the game with his playing style. And he's not the only one that falls victim to that, but that's just where I see the matchups in. Wide receiver, got to give the edge to the Niners here. I mean, New England does not really have a big threat outside of Julian Edelman, who's really their chain mover, not necessarily their deep threat or go-to guy. So I would definitely give the receiving edge. I mean, you got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, multi-versatile weapons that can run the ball as well as catch the ball. And we know that Deebo Samuel is kind of definitely gets the lion's share of some of those dynamic plays, the jet sweeps and such like that, the reverses. So we're going to see a lot of that happening here and see if New England can figure it out, because every play looks the same on Kyle Shanahan's end, but the defense doesn't know what's going to come out of that play once the ball's snapped. And that's the challenge when you're facing a Kyle Shanahan offense. Tight end, I think it's no contest. George Kittle obviously gets the edge there. I really like that. That's going to be a very tough matchup for whoever is in charge of covering George Kittle in that matchup. So again, another edge over there. Running backs, we're going to be seeing James White, and New England doesn't really have a running game. They didn't have a running game last season when Tom Brady was the quarterback. It was really kind of more of a passing attack with a kind of committee running back that was average at best. So I'm going to give that edge to the 49ers there. I think Jerick McKinnon, his ability to catch and run, gives him an edge. And we don't know who we're going to get the number 2. Is it going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. or is it going to be JaMychal Hasty, the undrafted rookie? I really like what I'm seeing out of him. Seeing a lot of bursts, a little bit of shiftiness there. Kind of feel like we should give him another shot. Give him in there. Give Jeff Wilson some other role. Make him the number 3 back in today's Sunday's contest. But I'd really like to see some more JaMychal Hasty coming into this matchup here. I just feel like there's a little bit of potential there that we have yet to see. Saw a little bit of flashes against the Rams, and that was during a time when, guess what? The Rams were still in it, so it's not like we were like blowing them out and just giving him some garbage time touches. He was getting some legitimate touches in the game where it mattered for him to get yardage and get first down. So definitely would like to see some more out of him. Defensively, I kind of give a little bit of edge here. I'd say the secondary in terms of health, I got to give it to the Patriots, although we're playing pretty solid ball. I mean, between, Jimmy Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, and Jason Verrett, 3 solid players that played lights out last week. The only problem is going into this week, we're going to be minus Jaquiski Tartt, who we had last week. So I'm going to give the edge to New England there. In terms of linebackers, I mean, I don't think there's anyone better that's going to be playing on Sunday than Fred Warner. So in terms of the person that's going to be calling plays and leading the charge, Niners get a clear edge there in Warner. We know Dre Greenlaw is going to play. Quan Alexander's not going to play. So, I give them the edge. Defensive line, I'd say this is about even. We're missing a lot of pieces. They don't have a lot of pieces, so it's pretty even in terms of that. And, I think I would even give a slight edge to New England in this category just because we're just not getting the pass rush that we got last year. And it's mainly because of health. And there's nothing really we can do about that right now. So I'll give them an edge there. So overall, I would say defensively, I'd say New England's just a smidge better. But offensively, I feel like there's just a lot of matchup problems that the 49ers will be giving to this New England's defense, even though they are pretty solid overall. I expect them to force us to be one-dimensional. They're really going to focus on stopping the run so that Kyle Shanahan does not have the opportunity to set up the play-action pass and all of the gadget plays and the pre-snap motion. We're going to get that anyways, regardless, because you got to keep them honest. But New England's definitely going to try to make Jimmy one-dimensional to have him not rely on the run. So, and Jimmy's prepared to throw that. He's had to air it out before. I think he's going to definitely be fired up to play good and keep the momentum going from the Rams to New England, especially as this being his former team. But so far, I would say offensively, Niners have the edge. Defensively, New England's got a slight edge. That's defense compared to defense, offense compared to offense.
I agree with that too. That the New England has a slight edge. I think defensively, and that we have the edge offensively. But I think the tail of the tape on both sides of the ball, I think the 49ers defense is going to have an easier time shutting down Cam Newton's led Patriots offense versus New England's defense shutting down Jimmy G's offense, 49ers led offense.
I agree. There's just too much versatility on the 49ers side of the ball between Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne starting to get into the mix. George Kittle is you have to face mask him in order to bring him down, for Christ's sake.
They face mask him every week.
So that coupled with the fact that you have running backs that can also catch and run out of the backfield, it's just you don't know who the ball is going to go to, and all of our players are designed to get yak, and I think that's just too much. That's going to be too much for New England, so there's just a big edge right there, whereas New England's offense has yet to gel. Cam has missed a game, and in other games he's really looked like just kind of looked like a shell of himself. His health is an issue, and he does not have the luxury of running that linebacker size 6+ 250, 260 pound body out there anymore, because he's just taken too much of a beating over the course of his career, that even though he has size going for him and has always had that going for him, he just no longer has the durability to sustain the blows that he sustains, because he's just never been a smart runner. He was like reckless, like RG3, who blew out his knee. So if it comes to that, I just really don't see mobility playing a big factor in his game the way it has in the past, and the way it does for some of the younger guys coming into the league that have that mobility, like the Kyler Murrays, or even people that are very elusive and have just sustained really good health throughout their careers, like the Russell Wilsons of the world. So I just don't see him having that same type of potency in his game. He's really going to have to rely on sitting in that pocket, or maybe using some scrambling ability to at least get outside the pocket to keep plays alive if he wants to have a chance against this defense. Because I expect the corners to continue to play well. They've played well for the most part every time they've been there. Emmanuel Mosley's probably the one guy that might give you one explosive play per game, but that's really it. So I don't see a lot of mistakes here. The one lingering issue, though, is the absence of Jaquiski Tartt, who, again, a Trent Baalke pick, for some reason just cannot stay healthy. Great when he's in there, but cannot stay healthy. I mean, praise somebody, praise the Lord be that Jimmy Ward has now become the Iron Man, because he's completely flipped the script. So congratulations to that. We have the versatility that he brings to the table, and we also have the luxury of him just being able to, he's just now figured out how to keep his body durable and how to stay in there. So thank God, because he's great. He can play corner and safety. He can also play the run and the pass. So just really one of the best all-around defensive backs that we have in that backfield right now. So I expect a lot out of him coming into the Sunday contest too.
So let's talk about some concerns that I have going into this game that I think are worthy of note. The 49ers only scored 3 points in the second half of that Rams game. Now, while we have talked about a lot of those weapons seem to be unable to generate any they generated some offense, but it wasn't turning into points. And despite all those weapons, Mostert out of the game clearly was a major dent. And the question going into this game, can the 49ers rebound, recoup, and play a game, can they execute a successful offensive plan without Raheem Mostert? That is the question that faces Kyle Shanahan going into this week, because it's been the last 2 straight quarters of football, we only generated 3 points. So that's a big concern. My other big concern, we have had an issue, everyone does, but the 49ers in particular have a real hard time with mobile quarterbacks. Cam is a mobile quarterback. And if our secondary starts blanketing those guys, covering everyone, I mean, Cam is the type of guy who's going to make plays on his feet, and he's going to make them quick. And so that is a place where we're exposed, and that is definitely a position that makes me nervous. Is like the cornerbacks do their job, the secondary does their job. They do such a good job that it forces Cam to run, and he starts gashing us on his feet. And so that, I think, is the biggest place we're going to be most vulnerable. Can we stop Cam if he decides to take off? That's number one. And then number two, can Kyle Shanahan put together an offense that doesn't have Raheem Mostert in it? Can he put together a successful plan that can be executed? Now, I know the answer is yes. I know he can on paper, but can this team execute it? That's really the question.
I think so. I mean, they're coming into this week knowing that they don't have Raheem Mostert, so that means Jerick McKinnon's getting all the first-team reps. JaMycal Hasty and Jeff Wilson Jr. are also getting first-team reps. Everything's being schemed around the players that he has versus losing Raheem Mostert halfway through the game against the Rams and having to pull in McKinnon and Hasty to pick up the slack versus game planning with them in mind. So I think the idea was for Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert was getting like the lion's share of the snaps. You know, Jerick McKinnon didn't really see action until Raheem Mostert went out. So he was really an afterthought in that game until we had no other choice. Versus this time we go in with the game. Now I know that he looked good against the Jets and the Giants, but those were the Jets and the Giants. You know, so New England's actually a much better team, despite the fact that their records are not too far off from each other. They're still a much more talented team and have a lot more, capable players on that roster. But at the same time, I feel like Kyle Shanahan being able to game plan with knowing what he's going to get, what personnel he's going to have at his disposal, going forward, I think will really kind of help, everyone know what to do, where to do it, how to do it, where to be, where they're supposed to be, versus having to improvise some of those roles because guys go down unexpectedly halfway through the game. Not that that's something he's unfamiliar with or unprepared to do, but at the same time, the Rams made some second half adjustments defensively that really kind of stifled the Niner offense and caused a lot of 3-and-outs and punts. And it was really frustrating to see because San Francisco didn't necessarily have an answer to their adjustment, whereas most of the time they're really good in those second half adjustments. But I expect that to be a little bit easier this time around just because I feel like the LA Rams defense is just, even though I think, statistically, gosh, I would say, where are these guys? Statistically, the Rams are a bit better, than the New England Patriots, at least in terms of, total yards? Yeah, total yards. They're number 10 in the league. San Francisco's number 11. We're right behind them. I take it back. Actually, New England is the better defense, at least in total yards they are. New England's number 4. So, but, Rams, I just felt like division game, especially in the NFC West, those teams always play. Those are like playoff games when those teams clash. The two times that each team clashes throughout the season, I feel like they're always playoff caliber games. Even the opening game in Week 1 against Arizona went down to the wire. It came down to a final drive before the game was decided. Same thing with the Rams. It came down to a final, had to get a final first down so that you wouldn't give them another possession because this game was still a one-possession game. And that's just how it is in the NFC West. So even though the Rams look like the better defense on Sunday, statistically, overall, New England is a better squad. But at the same time, I just feel like Kyle Shanahan's preparation for this game, I feel like it's really going to be sound. Again, Kyle Shanahan caters each offensive game script based on the defense he's going to play. He doesn't just roll out the same stuff week in and week out and just wait until you figure it out. Everything is tailor-made, very similar to how Jim Harbaugh and his staff would prepare for opponents, although for some reason, offensively, he would always play down to the talent of whoever we were playing, and defensively, we were always very consistent because Vic Fangio was just like, nope, I'm just going to do the same thing every single week.
So here's a question, Raymond, because we got to go. We got to get out of here, but real quick, who are the players to watch for? What is your final score?
Okay, so on the defensive side of the ball, I really need to see something out of Javon Kinlaw. It is time for him to start making some bigger flashes on that defensive front. Kerry Hyder's been pretty consistent. Eric Armstead is getting double teamed like crazy, much like DeForest Buckner did when he was the lone horse on that line. And Eric Armstead just not the same player as DeForest Buckner, who, again, got 12 sacks while getting double teamed all season long. Very impressive. So Eric Armstead just not seeing the same success. So if somebody can step up on that line, it'll take away some of those double teams and really force offensive lines to consider other players in their protection and blocking assignments. So Javon Kinlaw on my watch list for that. And Jarrett, I'm going to go back to Jason Verrett. He had that big pick, amazing pick, and amazing coverage all game long. We're really going to need him in this game going forward. Can he help produce some other turnovers and build some more momentum? He's looked good every single week. He's gotten better and better and better. Now we're up to the picks. He's got great vision and good hands, so I'd like to see what he produces on the defensive end. Offensively, I think it's pretty easy, for me anyways. I'm going to be keeping my eye on Jimmy Garoppolo. How does the ankle look after another week removed? We know that the game plan was set to get the ball out of his hands quick to avoid the fast pass rush of the LA Rams, and he also kept everything short and underneath. Flats, quick passes. His longest pass was the one to George Kittle, who did most of the legwork after that. But outside of that, he kept everything really, really short and tight. That way, Jimmy could get the ball out within 2 seconds, and you could avoid any sort of pass rush or pressure. And let's see if he does some more of that, or if we're able to stretch the field a little bit. Are we able to open it up a little bit? How's he look on that back foot? He looked pretty good last week, although it was a short passing game, in order to kind of mitigate the pass rush and mitigate any kind of pain he might be going through, because he obviously wasn't fully comfortable, but he was a lot more comfortable than the Miami game where he got pulled at the half. So Jimmy's the one to watch. And then the other one to watch on offense, probably, I'm actually going to go with JaMycal Hasty. I'm going to go with the rookie undrafted running back. Is he going to be able to produce? He looked flashy last week. Is he going to be able to do that against a much more talented run defense in the New England Patriots? Will they be able to establish the run via him, Jerick McKinnon, whoever else they use? But I'm looking to see more JaMycal Hasty this week and see if he's going to be able to help contribute to the running game.
Nice. All right. And so my guys to watch, I agree with you about Javon Kinlaw. It is time. He has been on my watch list several weeks in a row. A couple weeks he's looked good, and then other weeks he's kind of disappeared. We need him to step up. This is what we brought him for. I know that he doesn't have the weapons around him, to maybe make his job easier for a rookie, but it'd be nice. It also would be nice to see Eric Armstead show why he got that giant contract last year and prove that he can be on a level with DeForest Buckner, and it doesn't matter if he gets double teamed. I still want to see him get in there. So those are the two guys I want to see on defense. On offense, I want to see one player and one position. I want to see Jimmy G, of course. How does he look again this week? And then the offensive line. Can they put together as brilliant a performance as they did last week? If you can stop Aaron Donald, you should be able to stop the New England Patriots. Aaron Donald is the nastiest defensive lineman in the league. So if you can stop him, I believe you can stop the New England Patriots. Can this offense keep Jimmy upright for 4 straight quarters? Raymond, final thing. What's this final score? Who wins this game?
I feel like this one's going to be another tight one, probably another one-possession game. I'm thinking something along the lines of 27-21 in favor of the Niners.
It's so weird, man. It's like we read each other's minds. I was going to say 27-24 in favor of the Niners. Oh, once again, me and Raymond have the same score, but this time we both agree on the winner. I almost should just pick New England, because maybe that's gonna maybe I'm jinxing us by us both picking the Niners. But Raymond says 27-21. I say 27-24. What say you, GoldCast Empire? Who do you think's going to win? What is the final score? Let us know in the comments at youtube.com/thegoldcast. And we'll be back next week to recap this episode. And so concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymonds Solis first, baby.
Boom. We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.